Let's suppose two people on your team do the same thing a couple of days apart. They both arrive about 20 minutes late. When Dave does it, you barely notice it. But when Sarah does it, you take notice of it, and you say to Sarah, "What's your excuse?" Same mistake, different reaction. Intentional or not, it sure looks like you're playing favorites. Now, does that sound like something you do? Or are you sitting there thinking, that's not what I would do. I would never do something like that. I tell you what, I've never met a manager who says I play favorites. Not once. But I've met many who do. They just don't realize it. So, let's take a look under the hood. Hi, I'm Gary. When I started my management career, it was sink or swim. I was given almost no training. Perhaps that's why filling in the gap became a passion with me. I became a coach for inexperienced managers. I conducted hundreds of workshops, and I even wrote 7 books on the subject. If you're wondering whether you play favorites, this video's for you. Favoritism rarely feels like favoritism to the managers who are doing it. Nobody wakes up and says, "I'm going to give Dave preferential treatment today." Favoritism is revealed by the actions that you have that you don't even notice. Does someone always get the benefit of the doubt when something goes sideways? Does someone always get that extra 5 minutes to chat after the meeting? Does someone always get that interesting project and not the other ones that nobody wants? Now, none of that looks like favoritism on a given day. It just looks like the way things are. But that's seeing the tree and not the forest. You're seeing an incident, but not the pattern. But from 30,000 feet, it becomes clear. Why would a manager do that? It's not because they really like Dave more than they like Sarah. It's because they favor people who make their job easier. You know, the ones who agree with you more. The ones who don't push back at meetings. The ones who offer to stay late or come in early. Employees who do those things start to be seen as people who do the job well. Not because they are, but because that's what good looks like. And it's not just managers, by the way. Think about a teacher with about 25 students in the classroom. If you ask, she'd be the first to say she treats them all the same. But the quiet, agreeable kids feel easy to be around. And without thinking about it, she starts favoring them more than the others. So it's not that you're playing favorites because you're a bad manager. It's because you're human. The problem isn't that it happens. The problem is not noticing that it happens. The thing about favoritism that almost nobody talks about is it's the person who gets the short end of the stick who is usually the first to notice it happening. They usually just don't say very much. They're not likely to march into your office and say, "I think you like Dave more than you like me." No. What they do is usually harder to handle. They withdraw. They stop contributing as often. They don't quit the job, but they quit you. So how can you tell if you're playing favorites? You ask yourself a very simple question. Not careful. It's not, am I treating everybody the same? Because that's not the issue. And in fact, you have to deal with different people differently. That's what good managers do. They don't treat everybody the same. The question is, am I reacting to every behavior the same way, regardless of who did it? The next time you respond to something that's substandard, coming in late or being unprepared or whatever it might be, ask yourself, would I handle this any differently if somebody else did the very same thing? And if your answer is yes, there you go. You play favorites. Not because you like Dave more than you like Sarah, but because it's easier to overlook Dave's indiscretion than it is to overlook Sarah's. You think of Dave as a good employee, but you think differently about Sarah. So here's what I want you to do this week. Just one thing. Think of somebody on your team who reminds you of Sarah. You know, the one you haven't given the benefit of the doubt to very often. You got somebody in mind? Good. Now this week, give them some grace. Just once. And then do it again next week. And the week after that. Because favoritism isn't a decision you made once. It's a habit you acquired accidentally. one reaction at a time. The fix is exactly the same. It's a habit you build on one reaction at a time. Remember the question in the thumbnail? Are you playing favorites without even realizing it? Well, almost certainly the answer is yes. Again, not because you're a bad manager, but because you're human. What matters now is whether you'll notice it or wait till somebody quits you. Speaking of blind spots, there's another one I see all the time. It's when managers give feedback, but nothing happens. If that's happened to you, I've got some ideas for you. I'll put a link in the description below. Well, that's about it for now. I'll see you in the next video.